Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Grim Dawn. We are playing with the Malmouth expansion as a dual wielding Inquisitor. And today we're gonna do the hidden path content. So you need a little bit of dynamite to get started here. We are back in the lower crossing just outside of Act 1's town. Outside of Devil's Crossing. So now you just walk outside of town, you just keep following the road until the road is blocked, then you back down a little bit and then you walk past the house as I did. And then you get to this bit. So this is a secret quest chain that was added quite a while back now. And it is, well, meant to be tackled at a later date than, or at a later time than when you get started here. As the two dynamites kind of indicate. Oh, dynamite, you don't find it until you hit Act 2. And the fact that this content scales with you, I think that it scales with you at least until level 50 or so. Means that it's fine to do after you finish the story. Because you do need to be in multiple places of the story anyway to do it. Well, if you got 2 extra dynamite and you want to go back for it, basically then just doing it as you encounter the content, that is possible. But you will be facing quite some damage of most of the elements, so waiting until your character is a little better balanced might be doable. Might be better. So this guy is 6 levels above us, does a boatload of poison damage, and has those wonderful little eyes of his doing some poison damage as well. Let's see, can we confuse them? I don't think so. Okay. Luckily we do have our Stormbox. Stormbox does a boatload of damage, and the enemy is not doing much anymore. Just kill the eyes. That's it. So 1 treasure box awaits us as a bit of a reward. Looks like there are some human remains here as well. Nothing overly shiny. Okay, so a little bit of lore. This just explains a little bit of the stuff behind it, and a runestone. And we will be gathering multiple of these runestones. So we fought the first Guardian of Dreeg. Next up is gonna be the one in the Broken Hills. There are some hints as to where you could find the next one. So this one gives a hint. The runestone carved by the thralls of Dreeg. There's an inscription along the edge. Though the 3 are now as one, it was not always so. Wary of the other's power, they quarreled across Karn in destructive displays of eldritch might. Mountains crumbled and rivers shifted, but no god emerged the victor. So, something about rivers shifting. If you're better at solving puzzles like these, you might have guessed that it was here. Personally, I didn't quite guess where to find the things, and even after knowing roughly in which area to look, I found it difficult to find exactly where to go, at least my first couple times around. It's become a habit now after I defeated the Logorian, or maybe just before it, depends a little bit on my mood. Sometimes even a little earlier, doing the hidden path content. One of the nice things of the hidden path content is that after we defeat the 3rd of the bosses, we actually have to go into the East Marsh to go to the Temple of the 3. So it naturally combines with going into the other extra area, which is located there. So we just follow the road here. Oh, hello there, heroic beastie boy. Dread Tusk. Sounds very ominous and dangerous. But in the end, we turn it into pork chops. So, this stone here is the entrance to the next fight. And here we get some Eldritch Winged Horrors and some Eldritch Hounds. And I think it was Solael who was the second. It's either Solael or Bysmiel. I think it's Solael actually. Bysmiel I think is the next one. Oh, come on. Yes. Yeah, Guardian of Solael. So let's once again put down our seal and then maybe just run, because this one actually does do quite some damage. Purple floor, purple clouds on the floor. Well, I do like the color purple. If enemies are hurling it at me, usually that's a sign of things going not quite so well. And it looks like I triggered some add-ons. Good thing is we do have quite some damage, and especially the Stormbox that we are using right now, it helps us. Because it does a lot of damage even when we are not specifically shooting at enemies. So, Runestone of Solael. Runestone carried by the adherents of Solael. There is an inscription along the edge. In the end, it was Solael who looked past the carnage and saw the inevitability of their actions. In truth, none could triumph where all three were equal. He sent his loyal attendant to speak before the rest of a resolution. They would seal the pact, there among the swampy remains of their last skirmish. Okay, so that is a reference to the swamp, but the thing is, we are not done yet. We need to go all the way over here. And I think it was this one. Let's double check. Is this? Yeah, this is next to the bridge. Wonderful. So if you choose to do these fights as you encounter them, then of course there's going to be a little less walking around. On the other hand, the waypoints are relatively okay, well situated, so you can get back without too much issues. One of the nice things of our current level being only 45 is that the enemies here are actually still level relevant, so we even gain some experience, and any items they drop will be useful. Well, usable, not useful. Most items are not useful, but some of them will be. They've got some form of healer backup, and there's no more backup at all. Oh, are you nicely bunched up? Does that look like a Stormbox target? Yes, it does. Okay, almost there. Need to be underneath the bridge here. But in order to do that, we need to walk around a little bit more. Hello there, Yetis. You are actually relatively sturdy, so it takes quite some shooting to take you out. But quite some shooting is something I can do. Hey, so this little clearing here actually has some bushes we can walk through, and this is the gate towards the third of the bosses. There will be some add-on spawns, some hounds of Bysmiel. And a couple more. So let's put up a portal here. And the fun thing is, there's actually 2 bosses inside of this one, rather than just the one that we saw before. Ah, there's also some spiders here. Okay, lots of enemies streaming in, doing lots of damage. These are effectively hellhounds, so they just explode upon death, so you don't really want that happening close to yourself. And it looks like we woke up the doggy. See, I'm just gonna run through. And continue the fight over here. Looks like we didn't actually trigger the boss, it was just standing there. Okay. So the second fight lies behind here. There's a loose rock that opens up the door. We're gonna go there. That's where Rishelga, the Mad Queen, resides. But first, I'd like to take care of the normal boss, rather than one of the super bosses. And that is the Guardian of Bysmiel. Very much a lightning-based enemy. So there's a chance that our lightning-based attacks might be less effective here. Like that. As long as our Stormbox is just affecting it, it's actually okay. There's a teleport, so... It has the potential to do quite some damage, so as long as you just keep moving, you've got to be okay. Now it allows you to just heal yourself a bit. Okay, and then once your life is low, put some distance between you and the enemy to get out. So I think this foe is probably going to be easier to deal with if you have some means of reducing its resistances. Fortunately, I don't. Okay. And there you have it though. So just a little bit more patience and then the enemy falls. So near the end there we got that report. Near the end I drank one of my Arcanum oils. I've been saving these up for fights like these, 50% extra elemental damage. It's a little bit that might have helped. Though, given the fact that we are already boosting our damage quite a bit, it's not going to be too much. Let's see, this is the third of the stones, so that's the Rune of Bysmiel. Runestone carried by the followers of Bysmiel. There is an inscription along the edge. What a surprise. And so, by the light of the eastern star, the three joined together at their sanctum. Bound by divine blood, their quarrels put to rest. The covenant of the three was forged. So this was interesting. Tough fight, but that's because this guy was pretty darn resistant to our damage, because it is mostly lightning. So now, the Mad Queen Rishelga. It is very likely that we're gonna die here. And for this fight, more so than any of the others, hitting and running is a very recommended strategy. The Mad Queen. Just try to keep the Stormbox on her and try to keep her off you. And I'm just gonna keep the Stormbox on. Yeah, see in there I focus more on her than on myself. And that's the point where she spawns like a massive poison trap underneath you, something like that, and you get some issues there. She has the potential to do a lot of damage to you if you let her. So just embrace the fact that this is a build that is meant to be mobile. And stay out of her reach. Especially here, now the Stormbox is going to do most of the damage. So might as well just enjoy that. Oh, aha! Can actually loot this before she's dead, that's always nice. Get your prize before you complete the challenge, it's a fun thing. One of the little joys of life. Oh yeah. In this case, note the fact that our staying power is much less compared to her damage output means we will be running for a while. This definitely goes a lot slower than, I guess, any of my Necromancers. If you remember, the Summoner Ritualist I played really did not have any issues with her. I later went in with my Reaper, and that was actually the first time I died here. But after I properly accounted for the fact that she actually can deal a lot of damage, it got better. It's mostly just making sure not to stay in that poison. See? Here I'm just trying to do a little more damage rather than only running. That does not help at all. Well, the Reaper does have a lot of life leech, and this guy definitely does not. Most of my survivability is just from the self-heal and a couple of the procs. And a little bit of passive health regen and things like that. But this is a build that is not meant to be hit all that much. And a fight like this, it means we cannot stand and fight. You could say that she plays the damage game much better than I do. Okay, you could also flip it on its head and say, well, she's level 50, I'm 45. And my guns are level 26. They're good level 26 guns, but they're only level 26 guns. If I were to, let's say, increase my damage a little more, that might help. That might help. Okay. Come on. We need... Yes. Come on. Got a leash tied around you. There. She was unleashed. Come on, follow me. Damage got a little too close. But these grubs, they don't seem to be doing all that much. For a life leech based build, they would be a nice source of additional life recovery, I expect, since they're just yellow ones rather than purples. That means less resistance to life leech. And oh, she suddenly started doing different things. She was down to halfway her life and she started charging. So, fun times. Well, I'm not gonna give up. There's a reason I put a portal down. She will die. That's the simple truth of it. She will die. How many times I have to try. The area here has been mostly cleared, so we can just put the portal inside. Oh, hello there, Mongol. Just have to be even more careful now to not get charged down, and just to keep my health up. I mean, if she's gonna charge, that's gonna do more damage. That means just being more careful. Mostly just explode the grubs. Oop. Okay, that was just quite some damage coming out. Oh, let's recover some XP. And let's just get rid of some add-ons. Okay, you're kind of body blocked by your grubs, that's fine with me. Okay, a bunch of poison, a bunch of bleeding. Okay. Slow and steady, doesn't win the race. Eventually. He was blocked by the pillar. Okay, killed the grub. Okay, lost 20% of our health. Could be that even more tricks are gonna get flung at us. In a boss fight like this, the boss itself is difficult to crowd control, / impossible to crowd control. So, the runes, I've been sprinkling them about, but in hindsight I might not actually have done all that much, since it's only the damage, and the damage is pretty low. But we did manage to defeat the Mad Queen. It took me 1 death, so on hardcore this would have been it. Luckily this is not hardcore. And it's yet another data point. This is a tough fight. So, next stage of the journey. After we defeat the 3 guardians, we are heading back to Burbage. And we fix the road to the East Marsh. That is over to the east here. Hello there, low level hero. So we repair the bridge. Well, we first clear it with dynamite, and then I needed more scrap. Yes, I've been doing some crafting as well, and it used up all the scrap I had on me. So let's quickly go back to the shared storage, grab some scrap from it, and then I go back. Let's see, so we need some scrap. I don't know, let's just grab 30. I think we only needed 10, but this way I'll have a little bit of extra. Might as well put all the crafting components back in the stash. Anything in here that is useful for keeping. Bonus to deadly aim and ranged expertise, as well as some bleeding resistance. That might be potentially interesting, so might as well just put that one in here. And the virulent maw, well, it's not useful for us, but might be for another character, so I'll just stash that away. So let's see, anything else in here that is useful? Not quite. Elemental resist, sure, but it is kind of pitiful. Insight on attack, that's a nice bonus for elemental damage as well as energy regen. Chaos resist, elemental resist. Actually, not a bad set of pants, this one. So let's keep this one off to the side. This one is caster stuff, so that's kind of a downgrade. I would prefer to have some sturdy things. And here we are noticing that physique is lower than what heavy armor is currently requiring. So let's maybe look at this as a signal to actually start boosting my physique again. That said, a little bit of elemental, well, decent amount of elemental resist as well as some damage, but for now it's not worth it since we're not going to be able to equip it. So let's go back to the portal. So we prepare the bridge, and then we can go on a troll hunt. So the East Marsh is a relatively large area. It starts either, the lowest level of enemies you will encounter here will be either level 25 or 30 or something along those lines. Skills up pretty far. Effectively, no, this is just level 50 or whatever the upper limit is going to be for veteran mode. This is going to be it. Now this is one of the end game zones for the difficulty. There's a fair number of heroic trolls, and there's even a purple troll in here if I'm remembering it correctly. What I like to do is on my way in I just stick to the bottom wall and then just trace the outlines of the outside. Reason for that is that for the path of the 3 we actually need to be roughly here near the top side. So this way you cover everything. There is a devotion shrine in the eastern marsh, and that one is all the way on the right hand side. And that is also where we will find the Fang of the Bone Hunter. So that is a nice 2-for-1. One of the nice things of the procs we have with the AoEs is that we can just focus on the things like the mosquitoes and the larger ones, and the swarms will simply get hit by the lightning procs. Because it is always annoying to just manually hunt down swarms of bugs. Since it's difficult to see which ones are alive, which ones are dead. So if they automatically get targeted, you don't have to pay too much attention. Trolls do a decent chunk of damage. It's probably a good reflection of the fact that we are not really all that high on armor. So if anything that does physical damage is gonna hurt. And with only 5000 health, we are not the tankiest of characters. But no, you know, I've been focusing on damage for the last couple of levels, just trying to get some skill points in and just pushing the damage. And there are limits to that, since if you're not all that sturdy, then you need to kill enemies in 1 or 2 hits, or you will spend some time running around not getting hit. So that is where an investment in becoming a little sturdier does pay off. Okay, we hit the bottom side, so now we are gonna move further up to the northeast. Okay, a lot of damage is being dealt here. Personally not a big fan. So also we got both bleeding and poison damage over time effect going on, and well, we do have resists against them, but we don't have things that reduce the duration of those effects, for example, which is another way of reducing the damage you take. Oh, that is where something like the Dryad constellation could help. Because now if the damage over time effects will be active for a shorter duration, they're gonna inflict less damage. On the other side, now we are dealing quite a bit of damage, so maybe investing a little bit into some life leech might also help. If we are even stealing a portion of the damage we deal back as life, that might allow us to sustain through some of the fights, since right now we have a 0 life leech. But oftentimes life leech is associated with vitality damage. We don't do any of that. Okay, so we're next to the boss fight, so might as well just put up a panic portal here. Put down some traps up. Well, actually it's a boss, so we don't really need the traps, since, well, bosses and crowd control most of the time doesn't really do much. Well, I just realized the Frost Rune, of course, also reduces the enemy's defensive ability, so it's easier to hit. So might as well throw a thing around. But in this case the damage output of the enemy is just not good enough to put a dent into my health. And we survive this with ease. This one requires a chipped claw, which is pretty easy to obtain. Mostly from dog type enemies and other kinds of beasties. And there we are. So we have one devotion point. I had a bit of a look at the devotion tree and played a little bit around with some of the endgame things. No, we're currently still aiming for Ultos as our endgame constellation. But after that we have about 15 or so points remaining that we can spend in various ways. And I realized that the Phoenix is pretty cool. The activated ability of the Phoenix is going to be up for 5 out of 12 seconds and gives you a damage absorption, and this doesn't look to be a damage absorption shield. So instead it will be a passive effect that will just apply for the entirety of its duration. So for the 5 seconds that it is up, all the hits you receive will have a flat amount of damage absorption, making it incredibly powerful. But it also has a nice amount of damage in your area, so I think that's going to be a nice one to go after that. I tried making it work for going for either the Blind Sage or Attack Seru or even the Leviathan, but just couldn't find a way to get the points without giving up some of the constellations we already have. Originally I was going to go for the Lizard. I also talked about that the Viper is actually a pretty nice one. In the end I did change my mind and went for the Viper instead. It's 4 points instead of 3, but the reduction in target elemental resistance, it is just too good to pass up. And especially now you saw it in the in some of the earlier fights. If enemies are highly resistant to elemental damage, then our damage output capabilities are severely reduced. So if we manage to reduce enemies' resistances, then that is better for us. Oh, you have healer backup. Can I get to your healer? Get me. Blast. Oh, man. Yes. You, die. Thank you. Right. Healer backup. There ought to be a law against it. It is way too efficient. Urelburg's journal. The master Necromancer vampire himself wrote in that book. And let's see, was this the place? No, there's one of the places where actually on the ledge there you can walk around it and find some treasure chests. But I guess it was not this one. Okay, mostly regular mobs, so putting down some runes just to explode them, it helps. And let's just double check that no priests are crawling out of the floor, cause that would be a little annoying. Yeah, see, there. Some of them have this yellow greenish glow around them. That often means they have been recently healed or blessed by a priest. So that's a good thing to just pay attention to. And that's also a good moment where you know, well, let's stop shooting at the big guys and let's go priest hunting. A couple of briar thorns down there. So this is definitely going to be an extended length episode compared to some of the previous ones. That's simply because I want to clear the entirety of the hidden path in one single go. Hello, goodbye. So there are a couple of other constellations on the devotion tree, which are useful from a resistance reductions perspective. Oh, you silly hunter, you. I'll just take you out. Nets don't help you when I'm shooting you. Let's see, one of the devotions is Murmur down here, which has cold damage reduction or cold resistance reduction. Didn't realize I was quite so ambushed. Okay, and we're following the road here. At the lowest point is the entrance to the Temple of the Three. Once again marked by a big rock. Couple of trolls here. Might as well shoot them. Do they have any loot? Nope, not this time. And there we are, one big rock. We have all 3 stones. So the rock is open to us. So we just stand next to it. Then we can open it. And then we can approach the Temple of the Three. So we shift from trolls and mosquitoes back to a mixture of all 3 of the witch gods' minions. It's gonna be interesting, especially in the Bysmiel bunch, since they are bound to have some of their masters' resistances. And these, of course, exploded obese. Where did you come from, Black Beast? Okay, another level. Always nice. And that maxes out the lightning tether, so that was one of the goals I wanted to go for. So from a survivability perspective, I think we're just now going to focus on maximizing out of vigor. It is, of course, quite a life boost. And the more life we have, the more hits we can take. And now after we're done exploring all the things we could do with the lightning tether, we're gonna refund most of those points and put them towards another use. So if we look at it, 16 points plus another 12 points. If you keep 1 in each, then it's 15, and that's another 11. That's 26 points we can obtain by refunding them. That could nearly get us to blast shield in just one single go. And then in the process, now you get all 3 stats as well as health and energy by simply increasing the mastery bar. So, that is going to be a nice defensive trade-off as well. So, well, currently, of course, the Stormbox is one of our primary damage dealers. By putting it into the mastery bar, that of course becomes a little more difficult because you cannot really do damage with a health bar. Some things in the game, some rules in the game you can't break, and yeah, well, doing damage with a health bar is one of those things that's just not gonna happen. Okay, we got boxed in a little bit. Sneaky bugs. And there we are. Entrance to the Temple of the Three. So, first up is the domain of Dreeg. So, lots and lots of poison. The blockades on the walls are randomized, so sometimes it is easier to get through here than other times. The way forward here is actually open. That's nice. Most of the time you have to go via one of the side paths, but in this case it looks like we can just go forward. Whoa. try to make a habit out of not standing in the poison while fighting. And just put a stormbox on their face. Solves a lot of issues. The runes fall silent. They kind of lost contact with their gods, which, oh, for them it was a little bit of a scary experience. Now being all devout, actually, hearing your gods, and then suddenly just silence. Because then they actually had to shift from knowing their gods was there to just trusting their gods were there, or hoping their gods were there, and that's, well, a little scarier. Though, it's funny, as far as I know, all of the gods, or at least a lot of the gods in Grim Dawn, they actually started out as mere mortals who obtained so much power and managed to pierce the veil between worlds that they got access to the arcane realm and things like that, and ascended into godhood. But it's just a matter of obtaining enough power rather than being something that's intrinsic. It's, from that perspective, it's very comparable to how planeswalkers in Magic the Gathering used to work. They were also just effectively gods in the old lore before I think the mending, it was called, was introduced there. So going from a Dreeg's realm more into a bloody realm of Solael. Okay, anything that comes through will trip mines. So there's a treasure box here that I think is trapped. Yep, it's trapped. On the other hand, is it really trapped? I think I'm the trap. Q, dying. Because that's often the case. So when you make statements like that, it is not uncommon to die. So far though, so good. Let's continue. Actually just plop down a portal just in case something does go wrong. Final stage. Spiders and the Hound of Bysmiel. And we're getting ever closer to the final fight with the Sentinel. Oh. Surrounded by dogs, that's not a good thing. The damage mitigation helped a little bit. What's the number on the damage mitigation anyway? 55 damage absorption for every hit, so it's not that much, but it's not one of those matters where all the little bits, they do help. But not getting hit by exploding dogs works much, much better. Spiders that pinned me down. I was probably wondering, why can't I move? But, no. Spiders. They have webs. So this is one of those things where having a reduction in entrapment duration really helps, since it allows you to get going much quicker. Right now, not that much in the danger zone. No, getting pinned down for a second or two is not that big a deal. But I can imagine in some fights it might be the difference between life or death, having that a reduction there. And it mostly applies to the higher difficulties, I think. Early on, things are not that bad. Just keep moving the portal, so in case of something going horribly wrong, I don't have to walk back too far. Okay, little bit of treasure with an ornate box. It's a nice spawn. It's not always ornate, it could be just a regular one. And there is the portcullis to the boss fight with the Sentinel. Sentinel, he hurts. And the important thing to remember here is he has access to a lot of damage over time effects. Wow, the lightning tether goes through walls, that is convenient. Also, whenever enemies put down stones with ominous auras, never a big fan. It's one of those rigged arenas where actually enemy spawns are put in. Though in this case, what if we just use the Horn of Gandar to confuse them? Oh. It's not too many. Let's just try to keep the tether on the dude. Not stand too close to him. And that was the Sentinel. I must say, this was much easier than the fight with Rishalga. Well, Rishalga is supposed to be, of course, a hidden, secret, super endgame boss. And this is just a dude that stands in between you and a skill point. So I want to chat with the gods. I'm ready to receive the gift. One whole skill point. Such power. I will need a moment. Okay, and then there's more loot. Always good. There's a breakable wall here. That will get you access to even more loot. And oh no, it is trapped. Whatever shall I do? If it catches you unaware, of course that could be a bit of an issue. In this case, didn't really do all that much. And that was that. So we got another skill point. So let's spend it on even more vigor. It produces freeze, entrapment and petrify duration. So no, that is useful for getting out of hairy situations. And of course the health bonus. I really do enjoy those things. I think with that, oh, we have another point. So that's going to be physique. I think for now on, I'll probably boost physique a bit more than cunning, just to keep up with the physique demands of gear. Though, on the other hand, if I actually start boosting the demolitionist bar, we're going to get much more. Maybe that's also a good indication. If you are having issues equipping your gear, that might be a time to actually start putting points into your mastery bar again. But yeah, for now, this is a good point to call it the end of an episode. So thank you very much for watching. And hope to see you again next time when we venture forth into the Ashes of Malmouth content. When we try and conquer Gloombolt. Bye bye.